The B8.5 Audi A5. In the days of solid build quality, no forced touchscreens, and a CVT gearbox. Is it really that bad though? Or were Audi actually onto something when they made these? Let's get into it. My name's Tom, and you are watching Paragon Cars. Let's go! Running gear then, and this Audi is sporting a 190 horsepower 2-litre diesel with a luscious 400 Nm of buttery smooth torque. Power goes to the front wheels only via a CVT. Yes, CVT gearbox. Anyway, now we know the power figures, let's see what this thing does on the 30 to 70 sprint then, shall we? Now then, because this has a CVT transmission, you can have the gearbox in one of two ways. One is like a regular CVT, where it'll rev up to the best part of the rev range and stay there for maximum power and acceleration. The other is what I'd call a simulated regular gearbox, where it looks and feels like it's actually changing gears. Which one is actually quicker though? Well, in regular drive/CVT mode, the A5 managed a very respectable 6.93 seconds. That's right around where it should be given the power. Ironically though, with the gearbox in its sportier setting, or S, it was constantly slower by 0.7 seconds, with a time of 7.63 seconds. So yeah, if you want to actually go fast, just leave it in drive. Moving to the inside, you'll find a dating interior, but not necessarily one that feels that old. The only thing that is really missing is Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but you still have Bluetooth audio, a lovely adjustable armrest, and some sunglasses storage. Oh, and you know what you don't have? Touchscreens. Oh lord, please bring back the days where I don't need to use one of those. Moving rearwards is where you'll find that the B8.5 Audi A5 is a bit tighter than its newer and younger sibling. There's just enough legroom for a 5'11" adult, but the headroom is definitely on the tighter side due to the sloping roofline. Then in terms of creature comforts, you get climate vents to cool or warm one of your knees, a 12-volt socket and an armrest without the optional cup holders. Oh Audi, when were you ever not stingy? Moving even further back to the rump of the vehicle is where the sportback name and hatchback by nature thing happens with the Audi A5. You get a very nicely sized boot with yet another 12-volt socket and seats that don't get stuck on the way down when you fold them. Smashing stuff, Audi. Now though, we get on to the drive. Will the CVT ruin what should be a lovely Audi automobile? Let's find out. So, if you're a car enthusiast like I am, you will probably also hate CVT gearboxes like I do, because usually they are slow, sluggish, and they just sound horrible. However, I'm already kind of annoyed because this one's quite good. I've literally driven it for 30 seconds and it just kind of works. I've never driven an Audi with a CVT gearbox, or the Multitronic gearbox as they call it, but basically it's trying to simulate a real gearbox if you're in sports mode, so you'll get 8 theoretical gears or 8 simulated gears, but when you're just in regular drive, it drives like a CVT. But you know what, you don't really notice it unless you've got your foot down. And the other thing is that you're never waiting for power to come in. So one thing I find with the Tiptronic gearbox, which is like a ZF8 speed or 6 speed, is that you sometimes get to a junction, plant your foot down, and it does nothing. This, on the other hand, you literally just touch the throttle and you're off straight away. There is no delay. It's almost electric. And that's weird because every cell in my body wants to hate this gearbox because it's a CVT. But it does just seem to work. The other thing that works in this car is everything on the interior. the design is just, you know, it's showing its age a bit, right? But it just works. There's a button for everything. You got a button for traction control, you got a button for start, stop. Nothing is all touchscreen, and it is wonderful. Also parking this thing, plenty of steering angle. It's Audi A5, so it's about the right size for London, I'd say. You know, you can just about get an adult in the back, sort of comfortably, and you can very easily get out when you want to. Also, being an older Audi, it doesn't have those stupid electronic door handles that try and make opening a door feel more expensive. You just pull the door handle and then it opens. Amazing technology, that, isn't it? I love that. Just listen to that as well. Everything just has this lovely click to it. All the controls feel nice. Everything feels new and expensive still. Like, no rattles anywhere as well. Like, that is a rarity these days, especially in modern Audis, unfortunately. Oh dear. Anyway, coming out of junctions, half throttle. You're just not waiting for the power. No drama, no wheel spin. Ooh, it's annoyingly good. I really want to dislike it. I'm slowly changing my mind though. In all honesty, driving this thing for 5 minutes, it is so much smoother than the S-tronic gearbox you could get in this car back in the day. So much smoother. I literally just touch the throttle. It's weird, it kind of like, it feels like it's kind of downshifting. But it's technically, I don't know, it's magic, basically. Anyway, let's reset our trip computer. We are going to see how much MPG we can get on the motorway. Theoretically, on the combined cycle, this should do 56.5 MPG, but that is before WLTP said that you had to put accurate figures for your cars online, so it might not do that. Hopefully it does though. But steering, not a huge amount of feel. It's definitely better in the newer A5 in terms of feel. Steering wheel itself is a nice thickness, easy to hold, fairly light. Nothing really, I'm going to stay in this lane. Nothing really to complain about. It's just got that kind of slightly older Audi feel, where there's weight to it, but it's kind of weight in the wrong place, if you know what I mean. But this interior, even though it's showing its age, just everything feels so solid still. I just wish newer Audis were still like that. It's a really unfortunate truth, but you know, I had a look at a brand new Audi RS3 a couple of weeks ago, and there's so much hard plastic in that car. And you think that's over £60,000 you're going to be paying for that thing. And yes, it drives better than older Audis, but you want the quality as well, right? You certainly don't want heaps of plastic in your brand new RS3. Now, even the sound system in this car is better than the newer Audi A5. This is the B&O sound system, and oh my lord, it sounds amazing. The clarity is like 2 times as good as the newer system. I don't know what they've done in the newer cars, but they've definitely cheaped out somewhere in the sound system. Right, enough of me waffling on about sound systems. Let's get this thing to a roundabout, get the traction control off, and see how this thing simulates a real gearbox. Okay, first off, this thing's really quiet inside. Anyway, let's get ourselves into S. So you can see it comes over with S6, which is like 6th gear. Go into manual though, and let's use our button for traction control, although I have to hold it down. Wait, let me turn it off. Turn it off! There we go. Change into 2nd gear. Look at that. Actually changed pretty quickly. Using my paddles, plant your foot. It just behaves like an S-tronic. That is so strange. Like the gear changes. Look how fast they are! And it feels like a gear change as well. That is so strange. But, you know, if you told me to drive this thing in manual, and I'd never driven it, didn't know what gearbox was in it, and I only drove it in manual, I'd be like, yeah, that is probably a Tiptronic or an S-tronic gearbox. Even on the downshifts, it kind of still acts like a ZF8 speed. Very strange. Right, so let's get ourselves onto the motorway then and see what it's like there. Okay then. No real drive modes in this, but you just leave it in drive. Back when things were simpler. And then, yeah, if I just plant my foot, it just goes immediately. And the performance is genuinely strong. Like, in gear performance, this thing accelerates like it has far more than 188 horsepower. Like, plant your foot here, 60, 70, done. Like, that's not slow by any means. And there you go, whack us in 8th gear. Still such a weird concept to me, but it does work. Then you can get your cruise control on. What are we on? 70 miles an hour. There we go. Thank you, policeman. And the next thing you notice is a abundant lack of wind noise. Like, zero wind noise. And road noise also extremely low. Like, this is as good as like an older BMW 7 Series. Like, genuinely, this is so quiet inside. Audi, make cars like this again, please. Like, I know the newer ones do look fancier and have more tech in them, but the fundamental car part of this automobile is just so much better than some of the newer stuff you're putting out. Like, this is a proper luxury vehicle. And sunglasses holder. Don't see that in many Audis anymore, do you? Also, like, the usual stuff, seating position is good. I can actually get pretty low in this. You know, like the Audi A3 of this generation, you couldn't really get low enough, but the A5 definitely feels sportier. I think the sort of slightly higher window line helps with that as well. Then with the seat itself, you've got an extendable bit for your thighs. You can adjust the pitch of the base, although it's not electronically operated, which, you know, this is a black edition car. You'd think you'd get electric seats as standard rather than just a bit of styling stuff. As well as the B&O sound, of course. That is worth every penny. But, oh my lord. This thing, it just drives bang on as well. Like, everything just feels nice. Like a new car. Just a little bit of wear on the steering wheel and that's it. Anyway, let's see if we can get 56.5 mpg out of this thing, shall we? Get ourselves onto the motorway. Right, that's our little motorway stint over, and as you can see, we kind of finished up in a little bit of traffic, which affected our figure very slightly. However, we managed 55.3 mpg, so literally 1 mpg away from getting what Audi claims. And remember, that includes the little bit of flooring it around the roundabout as well, so it is a genuine combined cycle figure. That is very decent, I have to admit. I was not expecting that. This gearbox is proving itself to be quite a bit more efficient than I was expecting. It just keeps getting better, doesn't it? It's so weird. It's like, mentally you're just told over and over again to hate CVT gearboxes, because it's like, CVT bad, horrible reliability, blah blah blah. In reality, it couldn't be further from the truth. You know, the gearbox in this, not only is it reliable as long as you maintain it, that's when they start going wrong, is if you don't do oil changes, but they're also really nice to drive. Like, again, plant your foot, it just goes. And like, it's fast. And I was expecting it to be really clattery and like rough, but no, just nice. And the thing is, 90% of the time, when you want to pick up speed, you just tickle the throttle. And that is where this is just glorious. I mean, it goes from 60 to 70 like a freaking sports car. And the thing is, you sit at like 2,000 revs, so you barely even hear the engine. Let's just do that again. So 50 miles an hour, tickle the throttle, gets to like 2,100 RPM, that's 60, and there's a car in front of me, so I have to slow down. But you get to 70, and you get my point. Just unreal how smooth this car is. Anyway, let's take smoothness out of the equation now and use some of those 8 simulated gears, and also get the traction control off. Let's go. Right, traction control off. I'm going to leave it in drive for now, just to see how the gearbox handles me putting my foot down. And let's see if this Audi steers everywhere or handles quite nicely. Look at that, the amount of pickup you get. All that torque. Lovely stuff. Alright, foot down. And whilst there's still definitely a bit of Audi steer, there is a lot of going quite quickly. Look at that, up to 70 straight away. CVT, harnessing all that 400 newton meters of torque. Lovely stuff. The only thing that really isn't that good with this car is the steering. Newer Audis definitely have better steering. Brakes, that's where Audis have always been pretty good. Feel is nice, initial bite is very nice. Just nothing to complain about there at all. Foot down coming out of a junction. You're not waiting for power. Bit of torque steer as well. It feels fairly sporty. Coming around corners like this. Once you're going quicker, you can actually feel a little bit of what the front wheels are doing, which is nice. And foot down around this corner. Maybe not, because this van is in the way. And he has no rear window. And he's going very slowly. Why are we going so slowly, Mr. Van? Probably because he's got no rear window. Look at that speed! Oh, that's not a good place to break down, is it? Right, gearbox into manual now, because I've had enough of the CVT. I want to control some gears, even though it's technically slower. Come in hot. Oh yeah, so, one thing I notice, newer Audis definitely oversteer a little bit more. Audi steer is definitely a little bit there. Not as bad as I thought it would be, but there is an element of Audi steer there. Problem is, if you're used to something like a BMW, you kind of just like have the inclination to put your foot down to try and neutralise understeer, but you can't do that in this. You have to drive it differently. Crikey though, you can get a proper move on in this thing. Like, wowzers. The amount of grip that is there is very good. Oh, bye-bye GoPro. Clearly the grip is too much. Bad at all. Suspension though, that's where Audis have always been really good actually. Coming really hot, bit of understeer. Yeah, so yeah, newer ones definitely handle better. If you push too hard, it will go to understeer. That surprised me actually, because I've driven a B9, so the newer version of this, and it oversteers quite a lot actually once you get it properly into a corner. So they definitely changed quite a lot with the newer car. So this kind of like, it's almost Volvo-esque. It's just very safe, very predictable, will never ever do anything that's going to scare you. Which, you know, it puts the power down, it still feels nice to drive, it's just not super dynamic. Nothing wrong with that, I'd say. Personally, as someone that likes driving, you know, I do want it to be a little bit more dynamic on the rear end, you know, give me a little bit of feedback. A little bit of adjustability on the throttle would be nice. Even on the brake, you can still feel this thing understeering a little bit, which you don't necessarily want. You know, if I'm braking and turning, I want the front end to kind of bite into the road a bit. Unfortunately, this doesn't do that quite as much as it probably should. But at least I've kind of got two gearboxes in one. And the suspension, oh yes, absolutely lovely. In fact, let's set this thing to a smaller B road now so I can show you just how good the suspension is on this thing. Right, dashcam GoPro has had enough, so we're going solo. Lovely. So, coming round corners, it's not bad. Steering could definitely be better. If you plant your foot coming out of the corner, you get a little bit of torque steer. But look at that, suspension just so much better than other brands, honestly. Like a Mercedes C-Class would have bottomed out over that bump. This just like, it's just perfect for UK roads, literally perfect. And the thing is, if you got a good suspension, you can maintain more speed, funnily enough. It just means it's so quick. Okay, can we hit 60 before the corner? Let's go. Just in drive. That's 40. That's 50. That's 60. Just. Woohoo. It's very hot hatch-esque. There's sort of like older VW Golf GTI vibes about this. God, I just cannot believe how good the damping is, though. It's like comfortable, sporty, it just does everything. Keeps the car relatively flat. Yeah, amazingly good. In all honesty, a BMW 3 Series damping, 3 Series E's damping from 2016 was not as good as this. Definitely not as good. Where it was better, obviously, was just general handling. Okay, one last time for good measure. It accelerates surprisingly fast, and I'm loving those simulated gear changes because it just feels like a proper gearbox. Oh, look at that! Nothing wrong with that at all. Chuck it in. It's just so accurate. It's literally just the steering that lets it down a bit. Coming out of corners like that as well, you can plant your foot down, it puts the power down. Yeah, awesome bit of kit, absolutely awesome. And when you want to go back into relaxed mode, you absolutely can. In all honesty though, no point turning the ESC off in this, because you ain't getting it sideways. One thing you are going to do though is do some pretty good fuel economy. Even after driving it hard for about half an hour, we have 40 mpg still, or 39.2 mpg. So you can have fun and save money. What's not to like? So, is this a maintenance nightmare, and is it a car you should avoid? Well, did you watch the review? Obviously not. I'm really surprised. I really was going into this thinking, yeah, it's got a CVT gearbox. You know, this morning I woke up and I was like, yeah, this is going to be a bit crap to drive, in all honesty, and I'm going to have to come up with a load of excuses on, you know, how you can save money by buying it. No, genuinely, it's a good car. My brain is still trying to figure out if there's something wrong with it. There's just not. It's just a nice car. It's just that response. Like, look at that pickup. Proof's in the pudding. It's just like, half throttle, go. Half throttle, go. It's so weird. I watched reviews of this car as well, and people were saying, oh, it's a CVT, yeah. And yeah, if you leave it in drive, it behaves like a CVT that's been tuned well. It gives you power when you want it, and stays at a low part of the rev band when you don't need power. And then if you want a gearbox, you just do that.
and it behaves like a regular gearbox. Absolutely brilliant stuff, Audi. Honestly, absolutely brilliant. And if you maintain it well, it's a very, very reliable car. Engine and gearbox alike. Yeah, annoyingly good. Also, just the build quality of this car, you know, back in the late noughties and sort of like 2010 to 2016, Audi were making some absolute bangers. Awesome stuff. Anyway, as always, if you enjoy content like this, please give us a like and why not subscribe, as not only can you see more content like this, you can see everything we have for sale, which as of me filming this review includes this rather nice actually Audi A5 Black Edition, you know, B&O sound, cruise control, sunglasses holder. We love all the stuff like that, don't we? There will be a link for the car down in the description below, and if you are not interested in an older Audi and you want something newer like an Audi RS3, there will be a link to the generic website down below as well, where you can explore all the lovely stock that we have for sale. Anyway, my name has been Tom, and you have been watching Paragon Cars. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.